Shalom, 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 shalom. First, I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakadash. Yahweh is the Most High's name, which means He is or He is to be. Yahweh Shai is the Son's name, which means He's the deliverer. The world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. As always, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who are leading this word in truth and spirit and sincerity. And salutations to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers out there that are teaching this word in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And those of you who are being edified by the truth of the scriptures of who we are, the true children of Israel, and who the other nations are. So today's edification is called the Herodian dynasty are not the last Edomites mentioned in history. The Herodian dynasty are not the last Edomites mentioned in history. So, those of you may know or may not know this clown on the screen called Vocab Malone. We call him Vocab Alone, basically. That's working hard for the small hats to try to debunk the truth of the Bible. And you can't debunk the truth. You can only continue telling lies, as I always say. For you to tell a lie, you must know what the truth is. It's as simple as that. And this is what they are doing. So, this is the new narrative now. The new narrative now is that the Edomites are no longer here. They're done away with. They don't exist. They're not going to be here in the end days when the Bible speaks about numerous prophecies about this place called Edom and the Edomites being here to face judgment in the end days. Whereas now, this is the new thing. The Edomites are no longer here. So the new story is that the Herodian, this is what this clown is talking about. He says the Herodian dynasty were the last Edomites mentioned in history, which is laughable to say the least. But this is what he claims. He claims the Herodian dynasty, which is like Herod, Agrippa, Antipater, Antipas, those that ruled, those Edomites that ruled Jerusalem, that was the king of Judea under the Romans' stewardship. This guy here, Vocab Malone, who is working hard for the small hats in Brooklyn and Stamford Hill, and he claims that the Edomites were last mentioned in history was the Herodian dynasty. And we're going to prove him completely wrong there. It's a simple thing. I don't really want to spend too long on this devil here, but we're going to see where the spirit takes us. So I want to quickly listen to some of what he has to say in this video. I'm going to play a couple of bits of this video. It's only 7 minutes long, but I'm going to play a couple of parts of it. And then we're going to go into scripture. We're going to do what we do best. We're going to pull out scripture. We're going to pull out secular history. We're going to show you that everything that this devil is saying, Vocab Malone, is totally wrong. So here we go.
Obi-Wan-Daya. Okay, I'll take esoteric interpretation for 200 vocab. Well, you don't say. All right. I'm very glad you chose that one. That is actually a perfect one to end before we do our Q&A. Obadiah 1, 3, and 4. If you could go to the minor prophet Old Testament book of Obadiah, it's really small, so it's hard to find, but it's an important book. Did you know sometimes the prophets of God didn't just give oracles of judgment against the Israelites? Sometimes they said, hey, you nations over there, I got something for you. And they would launch and load at them as well, right? Obadiah is an example of that. It's a prophecy against Edom and Edomites, descendants of Esau, right? Descendants of Esau. All right, so while you're turning there, you'll see. And the reason why I wanted to do this.
So you understand, this devil is in this clip here, the 7-minute clip, he's making a mockery of the Bible. And as we always said, these Christian apologists would have never opened the Bible if it wasn't for the Hebrew Israelites. These Christian apologists never ever read the Bible or opened the Bible. It's only now, because they came across the Hebrew Israelites over the past 15, 20 years, that they've all of a sudden got an urge to read the Bible. All of these Christian apologists that come out of those, what they call those theologian cemeteries, we call them, who went to those theologian cemeteries to cemetery, not sanitary, but cemetery to study the Bible, all of a sudden they're reading the Bible. I wonder why.
It's because I have another version of this that's not the whole Jeopardy thing, where I just show pictures of these guys dressed up. I explain the different camps. I break down their whole history. You get lost in the 60s and all this kind of stuff. And then I'll go to some of their doctrines and beliefs and all that. I said, let's switch that up. I'm going to really, the thing I like about cults that use the Bible is I get to read the Bible. I get to go to the Bible. So I hope and I pray.
You're the devil. He said, the thing about cults and these Hebrew Israelites is that I get to read the Bible, because these devils never read the Bible. And all the word cult means to study and worship something studiously. That's all it means, that you're focused and you're studying and you worship something studiously. That's all it means, cult. But he just said it. He said he never got to read the Bible before, because they never did. If it wasn't for us brothers that teach on the highways and hedges, if it wasn't for One West School, the apostles, their elders, these devils would have never opened the Bible. But they have to now. They're forced to open the Bible because it speaks about their downfall and their destruction. So now they're trying to muddy the waters by trying to tell you that all these prophetic prophecies to deal with the end times, that there's a nation of people called Edom. There's a place called Edom, and the Edomites are going to be ruling this place, and they're going to be judged and destroyed in the end times, and they're going to go into captivity and slavery. Now they're trying to actually disprove. They think they can disprove the actual prophecies. Well, listen to this devil anyway.
You're like, huh? You get to learn some Bible today, and that can never be a bad thing. So thank God for making Hebrews light so we can learn about Obadiah more, right? And I'm serious. I really mean that. That's why I did it this way. There was a reason.
Hear the devil. He said, thank God for the Hebrew Israelites, because he got to read the Bible. This guy went to a theologian cemetery, right, to study his Catholic or Pentecostal or whatever it is he deals with churches, right? He's a Calvinist. I think he's a Calvinist, this guy, right? The Church of England, right? Stuff. Never read the Bible. And we've always said this about these devils and these so-called theologians and priests and pastors of the Christian, Catholic, Protestant churches. They don't read the Bible because the Lord ain't dealing with them. The Lord ain't showing his secrets to them. The Lord only shows his secrets to his prophets, as the Bible says. But listen to the devil.
So here we are in Obadiah 1, 3, and 4. And now, here, let me break something down real quick. I got to explain this. Okay. You get othered. Now it's time to other the other. Who's the main person othering us? So-called white man. So-called because he's really red, because he's descendant of Esau, because Esau's red. That's not really true stuff, but that's what they say. Who are modern-day Europeans? They're not really Europeans. They like to rename themselves to hide their identity. We know white people like to redefine stuff, don't they? They're Edomites. They want to hide their identity. They know they're Edomites. In fact, Esau was red and hairy. Haven't you seen a bunch of red and hairy white guys at the beach? They're red and hairy. It's Esau. He loved to hunt. White people love to hunt. They'll sit in the tree for 2 days just to get...
He's making mockery of himself. He's making mockery of his fellow Caucasians. Everything he's saying, he knows it's true. He knows they're the Edomites. He knows that their favorite thing is to hunt animals for sport, not for food. He knows that they are different shades of red. There's no such thing as a so-called white person. But this is what these devils do. They try to make mockery of a truth to make you not believe it. But it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see, boy. Anyway.
Turkey! It's Esau. Right? And he liked our women. What did he do? Married women from Egypt. Now, since we have a prophecy against Esau and Edomites in Obadiah, you know it's going to get used. Now, got to stop here for a second. Moderates say white folks are descendants of Japheth. And actually, this is all speculation, really, because the Genesis 10 table doesn't really tell you. When people get these breakdowns of, well, Noah had basically a Chinese-looking son, a white son, and a black son. You know, they kind of sometimes do. That's really oversimplification from, thousands of years ago when you got modern people groups and people. It's just, what I'm saying? But sometimes people do that. But Japheth sometimes is associated with the Europeans a lot of times, right? Doesn't mean that's really oversimplistic. But so the moderates will do that. The one Westers got Esau. And that began with the commandment keepers in 1919, because we got documentation going all the way back to the one Westers that they did the Esau thing too. Now, why is it? No, the Esau and the Edomites are one of the main enemies of the Israelites in the Bible. In fact, there's a whole book about them. And I'm going to prove right now that this specifically talks about them. Are you ready? The pride of thine heart. Everybody knows the white man's proud. Just look at who smirks. When you think of a smirking person, it's got to be a white guy. You guys saw Nicholas Simmons, he's smirking. That's what they're so arrogant. Everybody knows that. This is clear. You already know. We're talking about some proud man. It's got to be. The pride of thine, O heart, hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Now I'm going to stop here because I want to actually tell you what this is about. In all reality, there's a kingdom south of Israel called Edom. Not a big people as far as numerous, but they were way up high in the mountains and the rocks.
So this is what we're talking about here. This is the kingdom of Edom, right? That existed, that was south of the kingdom of Judah, that always had eyes on Jerusalem and the temple, always wanted to be part of the promised land, always wanted to follow our laws, commandments, and statutes. They wanted in, basically. These devils wanted in. They wanted in back then, and they wanted in now, and they want in now. That's why we have a nation of people that call themselves Jewish-ish. Simple as that. The word ish means to pertain to. If I say that looks a bit yellowish, it's not because it's yellow, it just looks a bit yellow. If I say, oh, that looks a bit pinkish, it's not because it's pink, because it looks pink. If I say that boy's behaving girlish, it's not because it's a girl, it's behaving like a girl. So why they call themselves Jewish is because they're behaving like the real Jews, but they're not the Jews of the Bible. You understand? But that's where we are. So this is the kingdom of Edom. This is where the Edomites, this is their original homeland. Petra was the capital of it at one point, Bozrah, basically, yeah. And then later on, this place here, Petra, was taken over by these people here, the Nabutu tribes, which are Arabs, Ishmaelites, that took over Petra around the 1st century AD. But this is the kingdom of Judah. This is where you Edomites, the so-called white man's original habitation was. This is where Mount Seir is, Bozrah, all of these places that the Bible speaks about, basically. This is their original lands, all right? Just so you understand. But this is what he's making mockery of, basically, in that. So let's just finish what he has to say, and then we're going to pull out some scriptures.
And on the backside, you can't get back in there. It's an impenetrable fortress. They love to live in these rocks. It's very difficult to defeat them. So because of that, they're like, we can't be defeated. We have an impenetrable situation. Like, you're not going to be able to get us out of here, right? And so that's really what's going on. What God is about to say is like, oh, you think you're safe in a cave? You're not safe in a cave, man. You could be high. I'm going to get you. That's what he's saying. The pride of thine heart had deceived thee.
Well, this is that you can see it here, right? This is where Petra was, right? Just so you understand. All right. If we go to images. All right. So this was Petra. This was their habitation, right? In the rocks. This is where they lived. All right. This was Petra. This is still here today. All right. They've only uncovered 15% of the city of Petra. A lot of it is still behind the rocks here. All right. This is Petra. This is what you see on the map here. This is where this place is here. This still exists today. This place is today known as Jordan. All right. This country and where Petra is today is known as Jordan. Just so you understand. This is where. Hold on. Right. Is a more showing you here. Petra. Here you go. Jordan. Archaeology and History. National Geographic. All right. This is where these devils come from, out of the cave. This is why they migrated eventually into the Caucasus Mountains, into bigger caves, before they came down back into Europe in the 13th, 14th century. All right. Now, let's go back. Just want to quickly show you. Let's listen to what he has to say, and then we're going to pray.
The dwellers in the clefts of the rock. But since this is actually about white people whose habitation is high, we know white people love to build skyscrapers, cities. We know they sit up there overlooking the city, all the peons and the plebes. Haven't you seen Batman? That's what they do. They're looking all up there.
Do you understand here how he's mocking it? We know white people build skyscrapers in the cities. Who do you think invented the skyscraper? You Edomites. Who built the first skyscrapers? You Edomites in Chicago. And then the other nations followed you. All the other cities around the world followed you Edomites. But that's what Esau likes to do. This is what we call confusion. But it's beautiful. It's a guilt he's admitting, but it's mockery. He's trying to make mockery out of it.
Down on everybody. And the cluster of the rock habitation. Well, everyone knows why people came out of caves, and they still love it up there. And they're skyscrapers. I'm not kidding you, by the way. The habitation is high. It's translated as white people's skyscrapers. Under a one West interpretation. And if you laugh, they'll say, you're just not spiritual. You're just not spiritual. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? You see how the actual historical interpretation makes sense of the Edomites saying, I can't get out. You can't dislodge me. And God is saying, you about to get dislodged. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Romans, symbol of the eagle. Nazis, symbol of the eagle. United States, symbol of the eagle. Oh, and almost all the countries in the ancient Near East use a symbol of the eagle.
Absolutely not. That's another lie that these devils like to tell. The symbol of the eagle is predominantly recognized with you European nations, you Edomites. No matter where you go, it plays part of your bearer of arms, what you use to show who you are in war. All right? Predominantly with the Romans. The symbol of the eagle was a predominant thing with the Romans. And yes, the Germans took it on. And so did America. Who do you think those so-called Caucasians were in America, those white people? They were just Nazis that came out of Germany. Why do you think America didn't go into the Second World War when it first started? Because every other American was German. Every other American was German. That's why they didn't go into the Second World War like that. They waited to the strike on Pearl Harbor. But yes, it's predominantly a symbol that you Edomites use. So, but you continue to make mockery. Just listen anyway.
Common symbol for power. It's not just, we just know the Romans and the Nazis in the United States. Do you guys know Benjamin Franklin wanted the national bird to be a turkey? You guys probably heard of it. It's true. He really did. I guess he wasn't an Edomite. He wanted a turkey. Or he was trying to hide the fact he was an Edomite. Huh? So this symbolic identification as proof, these are powerful Edomites, is the way they look at it. Even though Assyria, same thing, the ancient Near East used the eagle as a symbol, right? Because it's a bird of prey, right? I'm about to swoop down and get you. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence I will bring thee down, saith the Lord. Here's where it gets weird, and then we'll do Q&A. They teach that when the United States landed on the moon, if they even believe in that, the reason they said the eagle was landed is because of this pattern.
No, and we do not believe that the United States or any other nation has landed on the moon or can even get outside of the Van Allen belt. The Van Allen belt, which is total radioactive, which circles the earth, goes around the earth. No human can go through the Van Allen belt. And these devils know that. That's why they always send animals, monkeys, pigs, birds, and all sorts of animals to test it, to see if they can survive going through the Van Allen belt. So no, we do not believe that you Edomites have ever landed on the moon. But yes, your nest is amongst the stars. Your space stations and your satellites are amongst the stars. But he's going to continue to make mockery out of it.
And the nest among the stars is the International Space Station. Kid you not. So this is a prophecy against the United States of America. That's what this prophecy is. And so a lot of times they'll say, when was Obadiah 1, 3, and 4 fulfilled? And they think it's like a gotcha question. They think they got us with saying that. Because that's the way they interpret it is bringing down the United States of America. That's what it's about. But it's really about Edom. And guess what? There are no more ethnically distinct Edomites. They were destroyed numerous times over. The last time we even see one mention is Herod of Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way to say Edom. After that, we don't really see them pop up. We don't know where they're gone.
He said there are no more Edomites. He said the last Edomites were the Herodian dynasty. He said Herod. He said after that, we don't see them no more. He said, where have they gone? Listen to it one more time. Listen to the devil. And we're going to prove to you.
And they think it's like a gotcha question. They think they got us with saying that. Because that's the way they interpret it is bringing down the United States of America. That's what it's about. But it's really about Edom. And guess what? There are no more ethnically distinct Edomites. They were destroyed numerous times over. The last time we even see one mention is Herod of Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way to say Edom. After that, we don't really see them pop up. We don't know where they're gone. This is fulfilled. And their dwelling place in Petra, it was like a ghost town. So archaeologists discovered it and they said, oh, this sounds like biblical prophet.
So he says there are no more Edomites. Yet he's got no proof, not a single ounce of proof has he got to show anybody that the Edomites were done away with. Yet the Bible speaks about this place called Edom, the Edomites that's going to be destroyed in these last days. The Bible goes into the scriptures. It speaks about the destruction of Edom. It's Isaiah 34. It speaks about Idumea. I'm going to quickly show you. I'm going to bring the scripture and quickly show you. Right. The Most High's wrath against the nations. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all the things that come forth of it. For the indignation, which is the righteous anger of the Lord, is upon all nations. Because all nations are going to face the anger of the Lord in these last days, when the judgment comes, when the war of Armageddon comes. And his fury is upon all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter, because the Most High is going to destroy them. He's going to let them destroy themselves. Then he's going to send his son, Yahushua, and the angels, and they're going to finish the destruction of all of these nations and these armies. And then the kingdom of heaven is going to be set up on earth with Yahushua sitting on his throne in the promised land, King David on his throne in the promised land, the 12 disciples on their thrones, and the 144,000 on their thrones in the promised land. And then the Israelites are going to rule over all of the nations, and they're going to make them their captives, their slaves, their handmaids, and their servants in the kingdom of heaven that's coming to earth. This is what Esau is terrified of. That's why he wants you to believe that this place called Edom and the Edomites don't exist. Their slain also is cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Not literally, that's symbolically. Telling you, it's going to be so much bloodshed. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, the nuclear destruction. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, the nuclear bomb. When a nuclear bomb hits, it rolls out the mushroom cloud. It looks like a scroll that rolls out together. All right, it's as simple as that. And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, as a falling fig from the fig tree. These are all of the bombs that are going to be fired upon the nations, that they're going to fire at each other first. For my sword, this is where I want to get to, shall be bathed in heaven. What's the Lord's sword? The Lord's sword is, we don't even need to see that no more, is nuclear. This is the Lord's sword. My sword, shall be bathed in heaven, right? That's the mushroom cloud. When the scripture says, that's the Lord's sword, that's going to be bathed in heaven. Are these bombs that are going to be dropping? That's the mushroom cloud. This is the scroll. This is the heavens shall unfold like a scroll. But there it is for you. That's the heavens unfolding like a scroll. The Lord's sword are these nuclear bombs. These are the Lord's sword that's going to be bathed in the heavens, right? It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So where is this place Idumea? Where is the people of the Most High's curse to judgment? We know from Malachi 1 and 4 who these people are. We know simply who the people of the Lord's curse are, right? Malachi 1 and 4, right? It's a simple one. It says here, whereas Edom, which is symbolically talking about the United States of America, because that's the white man's stronghold, says we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, which is what they did. They came to America and they built the desolate places. There was no cities with high-grade built cities in America that we see today. When these Europeans first came to the Americas, it was desolate. They came and built. But thus says the Lord of hosts, they shall build, and they did. They built their skyscrapers. They built their their cities. But I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, because everywhere these Edomites went and drew a line to create a border, to create a new country, they used pure wickedness to do that. And the people against whom the Lord has indignation forever. What people are those? Those are the Edomites. So, if we go back to Isaiah 34:5 says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon the people of my curse to judgment. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is fat with fatness and with the blood of the lambs and the goats. This is symbolic for the amount of bloodshed that's going to shed in the destruction and the war, and when the angels and Yahushua comes, and the fat of the kidneys of the rams. And the Lord has a sacrifice in Bozrah, symbolic for America, because Bozrah was the ancient capital for Idumea, and a great slaughter, this is a future prophecy, in the land of Idumea. So how could the Herodians be the last Idumeans? This is the Herodian dynasty, right? The Herodian dynasty was a royal dynasty of Idumean Edomite descent, ruling the Herodian kingdom, and later the Herodian tetrarch, and a vassal state of the Roman Empire. The Herodian dynasty began with Herod the Great, who assumed the throne of Judea with Roman support, bringing down a century-long Hasmonean kingdom, because that's what he did. Remember, Herod married into the Hasmonean. The Hasmonean were actual Israelites. They were our ancestors. The Herodians were Edomites, just like it tells you here. Edomites, Esau. So I'm not going to read all through this, but I just want to go down to the last rulers, all right, of the Herodians. Agrippa I was a grandson of Herod, thanks to his friendship with Emperor Caligula. The emperor appointed him ruler with the title of king over the territories of Herod Philip I in 37 CE, which means the Christian era, which were after Herod's Philip's death in 34 CE, shortly be part of the Roman province of Syria, and 39 CE he was given the territories of Herod Antipas. In 41 CE, Emperor Claudius added to his territory the parts of Judea province previously belonged to Herod. All right, Archelaus. Thus, Agrippa I practically reunited his grandfather's kingdom under his rule. So Agrippa died in 44 CE. Agrippa's son, Agrippa II, was appointed king and ruler over the northern part of his father's kingdom. He actively participated in quelling of the great revolt of Judea of the Roman side. Agrippa II was the last of the Herodians. Agrippa II was the last of the Herodians. He wasn't the last of the Edomites. He was just the last of the Herodian dynasty. With his death in 92 CE, the dynasty was extinct. Not the Edomites, just the dynasty of the Herodians. The kingdom became fully incorporated into the Roman province of Judea. It's as simple as that. Now, what we got to remember, right? As we know, Edom, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Edom, here, we're going to read a little bit about this, right? Where's it? It says here, Josephus, when referring to Upper Idumea, speaks of towns and villages immediately to the south and southwest of Jerusalem, right? Such as Hebron, Halu in the Greek, called Alurus, Bethsura, Bagapus, Dura, right? So where I wanted to get to was, here it is out there. It says, the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, were subdued by the Hasmonean leader, John Hyrcanus, who forcibly converted them, because many Edomites, Idumeans, were converted, among others, to Judaism, right? Because they wanted to be in the land, they wanted to worship our Father, they wanted to follow the laws, commandments, and statutes. So he incorporated them, the Edomites, into the Jewish, which would be the Israelite nation. Antipater, the Idumean, who was he? He was the founder of the Herodian dynasty, the father of Herod the Great. According to Josephus, he was the son of Antipas and formerly held that nation. So it says, under Herod the Great, the Idumea province was ruled for him by a series of governors, among whom were his brother Joseph ben Antipater and his brother-in-law Costobus. So this Idumean province is what we know as Edom, was ruled by Herod the Great, all right? So Herod the Great ruled the kingdom of Edom as well as the kingdom of Judah. So where did all those Edomites go that Herod was ruling over? Where did they go? Since there's no more Edomites today, my question would be to Vocab Malone, where did all of those Edomites go that Herod the Great was ruling over in the kingdom of Edom? Now, in the book of Josephus, this is the book of Josephus, right? I just want to show you what book we're in so we can see. It's here. This is Josephus, right? It says containing the interval of about 1 year. Let me just quickly go back one so you can see where we're at. Right. The genuine works of Flavius Josephus, the Jewish historian, I should say Israelite historian, translated from the original Greek according to Haberkam's accurate edition, containing the 12 books of the Jewish antiquities, with the Amphidex of the life of Josephus, written by 7 books of the Jewish wars, and the 2 books about the Appium. So we're going to go into the part of the Jewish wars, right? Book 4. From the siege of Gamala to the coming of Titus to the besieging of Jerusalem. Remember that took place, started around 66 AD. So I'm going to go down to chapter 4. I'm going to read it. Okay, chapter 4. I'd like to know what happened to all of these Edomites, all right? It says here, I just want to bring out little bits of this, right, just to show you. It says here, this is what Josephus has written. It says, however, it was resolved to call the Idumeans, so they wrote a short letter to this effect, that Annas had imposed on the people and was portraying their metropolis to the Romans. So the Zealots wrote a letter to the Idumeans because they were literally being held hostage by their fellow Israelites in the temple, because the Zealots, like the Sicaris, they wanted to rise up against the Romans. That's just what it says. The Idumeans being sent for by the Zealots. They sent a secret letter to the Idumeans, the Zealots did, in Jerusalem. They came immediately to Jerusalem, and when they were excluded out of the city, because the heads of Jerusalem at the time didn't let them into the city because they didn't want to start any frictions against the Romans, they lay there all night. So they were outside the gates all night. All of these Idumeans, all right, was outside Jerusalem all night. So they left. They got a letter was sent to them by the Zealots in Israel that wanted to take up arms against the Romans, but the other side, the Israelites, didn't want that. The people that actually controlled and ruled, when I say ruled, that were in charge of the Israelites, that were like the head families, didn't want that. So they kept the Edomites that came to assist the Zealots in Israel outside of Jerusalem. They locked the gates on them. They didn't want them in. 248. Hold on. Let me just go to Salaki chapter. Here. It says here. It says, for what occasion is there for us to sell ourselves to the Romans, while it was in our power not to have revolted from them at the first, or when we had once revolted to have returned under the dominion again, and this while the neighboring countries were not yet laid waste, whereas it is not an easy thing to be reconciled to the Romans if we were desirous of it. Now they have subdued Galilee and thereby become proud and insolvent. So the Israelites, like the head families, didn't want to revolt against the Romans, but the Zealots did. All right? They're the ones that wanted to revolt against the Romans. Four. Go down to hold on. Okay. So, all right, here. I'd like to know what's happened to all of these all of these Idumeans. It says here, thus spake Jesus, right? This ain't talking about Yahushua. This is one of the people that wanted these Idumeans to help them. This is one of the Zealots. It says, yet did not the multitude of the Idumeans give any attention to what he said, but were in a rage because they did not meet with a ready entrance into the city. They wasn't allowing them to come into the city because they didn't want to revolt against the Romans. The Zealots were being held in the temple by the rest of the Israelites under armed guards. All right, so they sent for help from the Idumeans, the Edomites. It says the generals also had indignation at the offer of laying down their arms and looked upon it as equal to a captivity to throw them away at any man's injunction, whomsoever. All right. So it says here, oops. It says, but Simon, the son of Capheus, one of their commanders, with much ado, quietened the tumult of his own men, and stood so that the high priest might hear him, and said as follows: I can no longer wonder that the patrons of liberty are under custody in the temple, which were the zealots that were under custody in the temple, in Solomon's temple. It says, since there are those that shut the gates of our common city, because they closed the gates to the Idumeans, right? Since there are those that shut the gates of our common city to their own nation, and at the same time are prepared to admit the Romans into it, nay, perhaps are disposed to crown the gates with garlands of their coming, while they speak to the Idumeans from their towers and enjoin them to throw down those arms which they have taken up for the preservation of its liberties. Because the Israelites that didn't want these Idumeans to come to free the zealots, which are other Israelites which have been held in the temple, to fight against the Romans, they said to the Idumeans, right, speaking to them from the high towers, to throw down your weapons, all your weapons, and we will allow you to come into the city. But they won't allow them to come in with their weapons because they didn't want to cause the uproar. This was the beginning of the Jewish-Roman wars, the war of the Jews, right, between the Jews and the Romans. It was the zealots and the Idumeans, the white man, right, that started all of this. Now, I want to go to chapter 5. All right, chapter 5. You see here, the cruelty of the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, because remember the word Idumean is just Greek for Edom, right? It's just the Greek word for Edom or for the Edomites. The cruelty of the Idumeans when they were gotten into the temple during the storm, and of the zealots, because now they got access to the city, they freed the zealots, and they went on they went on a complete slaughter of the Israelites that was against the uprising against the Romans. It says here, so I'm going to read some of this here. It says this advice pleased the Idumeans, and they ascended through the city to the temple. The zealots were also in great expectation of their coming, right? Because the zealots were being held in Solomon's temple by the other Israelites because they didn't want them to rise up against the Romans. But now the Idumeans had found their way into the city, into Jerusalem. So the zealots were also in great expectation of their coming and earnestly waited for them. When therefore these were entering, they also came boldly out of their inner temple, and mixing themselves amongst the Idumeans, they attacked the guards and some of those that were upon the watch, but were fallen asleep. They killed as they were asleep. But as those that were now awakened made a cry, the whole multitude arose, and in the amazement they were caught hold of in their arms immediately, and betook themselves to their own defense. And so long as they thought they were only the zealots who attacked them, they went on boldly, as hoping to overpower them by their numbers. But when they saw others pressing in upon them also, they perceived the Idumeans were got in. They didn't realize the Idumeans had got into the city and was fighting with the zealots against the other Israelites. And the greatest part of them laid aside their arms together with their courage and betook themselves to lamentations. Right? It's this down here I want to go to. It says, a great howling of the women was excited also, and every one of the guards were in danger of being killed. The zealots, which were the wicked Israelites, also joined in the shouts raised by the Idumeans, and the storm itself rendered the cry more terrible. Nor did the Idumeans spare anybody, for as they are naturally a most barbarous, and bloody nation. Who's the most barbarous and bloody nation on the earth today, family? For they are naturally a most barbarous and bloody nation, and had been distressed by the tempest, and made use of their weapons against those that had shut the gates against them, and acted in the same manner as those that supplicated for their lives, and to those that fought them. Who's the most barbarous and bloody nation today? Is it not Esau, Edom? It says here, let's not jump down to this verse here. It says, but the rage of the Idumeans, it reminds you of Christopher Columbus, right? When he came to the Americas, he said he couldn't put down his sword, boy. He said he was fighting day and night, blood. He said he just didn't know how to put down his sword. And Columbus was a Edomite. But the rage of the Idumeans was not saturated by these slaughters. It wasn't enough for them. Right? But they now betook themselves to the city and plundered every house and slew everyone they met. What did these Edomites do when they came to the Americas? Did they not plunder every house? Did they not try to kill every Native American Indian? Did they not always wait for the Native American Indian men to go out hunting, and then these devils would attack the villages and kill the women and children? These are the same people. These people that call themselves Europeans, Caucasian, the so-called white man, these are your Idumeans. These are the same people. Idumea is just the Greek word for Edomite. So when it says here, but the rage of the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, was not saturated by these slaughters. It wasn't enough for them. But they now betook themselves to the city and plundered every house and slew everyone they met. And for the other multitude, they esteemed it needless to go on with killing them. But they sought for the high priest and the generality, and the generality went with the greatest zeal against them. And as soon as they caught them, they slew them. And them standing upon their dead bodies in the way of jest, upbraided Annas with his kindness to the people, and Jesus with his speech made to them from the wall. They killed them all. They killed Annas, they killed Jesus, everyone. They killed the high priest. This is what these Idumeans did. These are the same devils that are here today. I can't believe that they can really think they can tell us that. Hold on. Let's read one more out of this. Here. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Here. I'll read a couple more extracts out of this, and I'll bring out some scriptures. It says, now after these were slain, the zealots and the multitude of the Idumeans fell upon the people as upon a flock of profane animals, and cut their throats. This is what they were doing to the people, all right? The wicked Israelites being led by these Edomites, these Idumeans. This is what they did to the righteous Israelites that didn't want to rise up against the Romans. It says, and for the ordinary sort, they were destroyed in what place soever they caught them. But for the noble men and the youth, they first caught them and bound them and shut them up in prison and put off their slaughter in hopes that some of them would turn over to their party. So the noble Israelites, they were trying to convince them to speak to the rest of the noble Israelites, to convince them to follow these Idumeans, these Edomites, and these wicked Israelites. But it says here, but not one of them would comply with their desires, but all of them preferred death before being enrolled among such wicked wretches. Those wicked Israelites amongst those wicked, and they're here today, those wicked Israelites, and the Idumeans are here, the Edomites. So none of them enrolled. It says, but not one of them would comply, the noble Israelites, with their desires, but all of them preferred death before being enrolled amongst such wicked wretches as acted against their own country. But this refusal of theirs brought upon them terrible torments, for they were so scourged and tortured that their bodies were not able to sustain their torments. Same thing these devils did to us during slavery, during lynching. Scourged us. What was they doing during slavery? They was whipping us relentlessly. They tortured us with the lynchings. So it says they scourged and tortured that their bodies were not able to sustain their torments, till at length and with difficulty they had the favor to be slain. This is what these devils did. So it says here, and now these zealots, the wicked Israelites, and the Idumeans, the so-called white man, the Edomites, were quite weary of barely killing men. So they had the impudence of setting up fictitious tribunals, like they call ours today. They call ours our fictitious tribunals today, and judicates for that purpose. So judges and juries, the same fictitious courthouses that we have to go in today, that this white man controls. It's no different. And as they intended to have Zacharias, the son of Baruch, one of the most eminent of the citizens, slain, so what provoked them against him was that hatred of wickedness and the love of liberty. So they wanted to bring Zacharias into the court, the son of Baruch, to accuse him of some lies, because he was a well-respected man amongst the Israelites back then when this revolt took place. It says, which was so eminent in him, he was also a rich man. So this is what they did. It says, so that by taking him off, they did not only hope to seize his effects, but also to get rid of a man that had great power to destroy them. So they called together by a public proclamation 70 of the principal men of the populace for a show, as if they were real judges. No different today, man. While they had no proper authority. Before these was Zacharias accused of a design to betray their polity to the Romans, and had traitorously sent to Vespasian for that purpose. So they was accusing Zacharias of making allegiance with the Romans and Vespasian against the rest of Israel. This is what these wicked Idumeans and wicked Israelites were doing. So it says here, now there appeared no proof or sign of what he was accused, but they affirmed themselves that they were well persuaded that so it was, and desired as such their affirmation might be taken for sufficient evidence. Now when Zacharias clearly saw that there was no way remaining for his escape from them, as having been treacherously called before them and put in prison, but not with the intention of a legal trial, no different today, he took great liberty of speech in that despair of his life that he was under. Accordingly, he stood up and laughed at their pretended accusations, and in a few words confuted the crimes laid to his charge, after which he turned his speech to his accusers, and he went over distinctively all their transgressions of the law, and made heavy lamentations upon the confusion they had brought public affairs to. In the meantime, the zealots grew tumultuous and had much ado to abstain from drawing their swords. All right? Because they eventually killed Zacharias because the court didn't find him guilty. All right? So it says here, but by this time the Idumeans repented of coming and were displeased at what had been done. And when they were assembled together by one of the zealots who had come privately to them, he declared to them what a number of wicked pranks they had themselves done in conjunction with those that invited them. So these are the devil. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of this. These Idumeans are here today. All right? It's as simple as that. They are here today. All right? There's no way how the zealots, when they were freed from the Idumeans, slew a great many more of the citizens. These are weird. How can Herod the Herodian dynasty be the last Edomites when there was a whole community, city of Edomites that lived in Edom that came up to fight alongside the zealots against the righteous Israelites because they wanted to take down the Romans. This is what led to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD and the last stronghold Masada in 73 AD. This is what led to the Jewish and Roman wars. What started here with the Idumeans, the Edomites, and the zealots, which were the wicked Israelites. And they're all here today. They are all here today. Trying to tell us that these people are not here. It's total madness. So when they see these prophecies, I'm only going to bring out a few. I didn't even want to spend too long on these. All right. And you know what gets me as well? Even what they call themselves. The Dukes, you see, it says here, Duke Magiel, Duke Aram, these be the Dukes of Edom. This is what they call themselves, the Edomites, like their kings. They call themselves Dukes. According to their habitation in the land of their possession, he is Esau, the father of the Edomites. And let me just quickly show you something. Duke, the word Duke in the Hebrew is aloof, 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 right? This is it here, all right? This is the word Duke. Who do you think uses that title
Strong's
today?
H441, aloof, aloof.
Who do you think uses that title today? I just want to quickly show you this. The Hebrew word translated as leader of a clan is aloof. Aloof is a senior military rank in the Israeli Defense Forces for officers who in other countries would have the rank of general, air marshal, or admiral. In addition to the aloof rank itself, there are 4 other ranks which are derivatives of the word. So why would these, if these were not the Edomites, why would they be using the same titles that their ancestors used in their military ranks? Why would the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, why didn't they just call themselves general marshals and admirals? Why they use the word aloof? Because the Hebrew word translates as the leader of a clan, aloof, used solely to describe the Dukes of Edom and Moab in the first 5 books of Moses. Are you kidding me? These are not, the Edomites not here today. That's Esau. But this is what they're terrified of. They are terrified. I know I haven't brought out many scriptures today. I'm just bringing out. And we also know in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary what it says about Edom, right? That place that's prophesied for destruction in these last days. So, you know, I know I haven't brought out many scriptures today. So lucky, I'm going to bring out one more. Sorry, one more. I don't want to spend too long on this, devil. So, God's vengeance on the nations, future prophecy. Who is it that comes from Edom with dyed garments? Who is that? That's Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. From Bozrah, symbolic for America. Edom is symbolic for America. That's where the so-called white man's stronghold is America. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, because the amount of blood that's going to be shed. And thy garments like him that treadeth the wine fat. His apparel is not going to be red, but it's symbolic for the amount of blood that Yahushua and the angels are going to shed when they come in the midst of World War III. I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. None. There is none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger. Who is he coming to tread in his anger? You Edomites, Edom. Edom as a place must be here today. The Edomites have to be here for these prophecies to be fulfilled. I will trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments. Not literally, symbolically. That's the amount of blood that's going to be shed. And I will stain all my remnant. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Who is the Lord coming to redeem? The children of Israel, the Israelites, and only the elect. Who is he coming to judge? The Edomites and the other nations, and the wicked 2/3 of Israel, like those zealots that we was reading about, that are going to be here today. What is he coming to do? He's coming to establish and set up the kingdom of heaven on earth, to be ruled from the promised land. All of these nations are going to be ruled by the children of Israel, the Israelites. Yahushua is going to be sitting on his throne in Jerusalem. King David next to him. The 12 disciples next to him. When the Lord says, is it 12 crowns, he says? Matthew, hold on. That's not what I want. I guess Matthew. What says to the disciples, right? So let's see if I can quickly find it. Hold on. Is it Matthews? That's a beautiful one there. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. All right? But that's not the one I wanted. Is it crown? Hold on. I can't find it. It's a particular scripture I wanted. So we'll go. Man, it's a particular scripture that I wanted. Let me just see one more time. Here it is, Matthews 19:28. All praises to Yahweh Shem, Yahweh Shai Shem, Rakak Dash. Let's red letter it. Matthews 19:28 was 12 thrones, not 12 crowns. And Yahweh Shai said unto them, to the disciples, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, which means the reincarnation, because the 12 disciples are going to be here today. They're probably here amongst the brothers preaching on the highways and hedges. In the regeneration, when the Son of Man, which is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, shall sit in the throne of his glory, which is going to be here on earth, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that has forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first, who is first in this world? The Edomites, the so-called white man. They're sitting at the top of the tree. They're going to be last, shall be last in the kingdom. And the last, which are you Hispanics, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, African Americans, West Indians, and Caribbeans, those that descend from the transatlantic slave trade, you Native American Indian tribes of North, South America, and Canada, today who they call Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans. Your last in this world shall be first. But it's got to start with the elect of Israel. Going to start with the elect. And remember what it says in Zonovan's Bible Dictionary. It says, Edom figures prominently in the prophetic scriptures as the scene of great future judgment. She is the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy from the Most High. How does vocab get out of that? Edom figured prominently in prophetic scriptures is the scene of great future judgment. He's the only neighbor of the Israelites who was not given any promise of mercy. You're going into captivities. You so-called white people, who are the Edomites, only if you go back to Esau Edom, because there'll be certain white people that are not Edomites that go back to other nations. There'll be certain so-called black people and Hispanics that don't go back to the Israelites, that go back to these Edomites. That's why the Lord is coming to separate the goat. Is it there? Is it Matthew? Just understand it. I don't want to spend no time looking for it. I know it's Matthew. Come to separate the goat from the sheep. He's come to separate the goats. He's coming to separate. I think Matthew 27. That's Matthew 25. This is what the Lord is coming to do. Just so you understand, you devils. And before him shall be gathered all nations. Everyone thinks they're part of this shit. Just like how they're going on now with their Christianity, apologist, white Jesus bullshit. Before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on the right hand, that's the elect of Israel, but the goats on the left, that's the other nations, the wicked, the Edomites, and the other nations. Then shall the king say unto them on the right hand, come ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Simple as that. That's what he's going to do. He's not coming. He's not coming for all people. Verse 44. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, the other nations, the Edomites, plus the other nations, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire. Prepare for the devil and his angels. Prepare for that war, because many of you are going to die in the war of Armageddon. Many of you are going to die when the Lord comes with his angels as well. Depart from me. Simple. So, I could go on forever with this, man, but I'm not going to do that. Just so you understand. Mr. Malone, you Edomites are here, and you're going to face your judgment. And there's no backdoor, get out of jail free card. There's no coming with your BS scriptures talking about the Edomites not here today. They're here. They're here. Because I'd like to know what's happened to those tens and tens of thousands of Idumeans that was fighting alongside the Zealots against the Romans. Where are they? Did they just disappear into the earth? You devils are here and you're going to face your judgment. As simple as that. So the Herodian dynasty, like I said, are not the last Edomites mentioned in the Bible. It's as simple as that. They're not the last Edomites mentioned in history neither. They are here, Vocab Malone. And you are one of them. Absolutely, you are one of them. So anyway, I pray you were edified by today's edification. The Herodian dynasty are not the last Idumeans mentioned in history, as we have proven simply. I want to give all the praises and the glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who are leading this word in truth and spirit and sincerity. And as always, salutations to my fellow Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters that have been edified by the truth of the scriptures of who we are, the true children of Israel, and who the other nations are. There's no get out of jail card free. There's no getting away from who you are, Esau. You're going to have to face your judgment. All praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Rakah, Kadash. Shalom, family. Until we meet again.